What's up, guys? Justin Arnold here. Heard some wolves. Um, I'm the solo developer of Pure Wild, and I thought I'd go a bit more of a individual kind of, we'll say, show and tell um, for things that I work on from week to week. So I'm gonna at least try my best to um, produce something on a week to week basis of what I've done. Uh, this week has been dedicated to really working on the temperature system and getting it tuned in. We will eventually smooth out that cold air coming out. It's pretty bright. Or no, well, it's bright because of the light, but it's very blocky. Um, but ultimately, I think the little videos are going to kind of give a better idea of what I'm truly trying to make here. Essentially, when I look at a system um, for what I'm trying to accomplish in this situation, I just saw an animal. I know I saw something. I don't know where it went. I just heard something. Something's walking around out here. I know I saw it. Oh, it's a fox. Hello, friend. He's just out here living his best life. Currently. But anyways, when I approach a system, I kind of approach it from two sides. One is trying to make it as real as possible, because the goal here is to make a truly realistic PvE survival game. No zombies, no monsters, just the real thing, and also not babysitting. Uh, Part of doing this comes from a love of uh, games similar, and I would go, for instance, in Daisy, and go off into the wilderness and just live and not pay attention to the people and the zombies, and that's a good percentage of where this comes from, and it's really just trying to maximize that experience. And so I'm thinking of two things, which is maximizing the experience breaks down into the playable aspect of it, because it is still a game and needs to be fun, but way more heavily onto the more realistic side of things. It's as close to a simulation as I can essentially get in those capacities, and breaking the rules of it being a simulation for the closest point that is a realistic aspect. So, for instance, we'll end up moving all the temperature and everything except for the compass to a watch, because that can, showcase these things to you realistically. So, going right into temperature, if you look up into the left corner, you see the 72, 74, and it's progressively going down, and the temperature drops if you're standing still. Okay, this is based on reality, and in this math here, it would take you about an hour to start into a pre-hypothermic kind of state. Again, trying to make it realistic. I don't want to feel like you're babysitting. I hate going into games and within 11 minutes they're like, oh, you're going to die because you didn't drink water. And every 11 minutes I got to drink water and food. And really all it becomes is just doing that. You're not really surviving. It's not based on a real-time scale, and I'm trying to get to that as close as I can, but also, keep in mind that this is a game. But at the same time, remembering who this game is for. This game is for the people who want to go out into this environment and have this experience. And essentially live off grid and hunt and survive and all these things. And that's for this kind of person. You're going to want this desolation, this the realism of it, so again, if you look up at the top left corner, you're seeing that temperature drop, and it goes slow. It's trying to be realistic. You are fully clothed, so there is that capacity. And again, I don't want you to start out freezing to death. If we start walking around, you'll see that immediately starts to rise. And we immediately start generating heat. Sweat doesn't kick in until you start getting really hot. And sweat is going to make it to where you start cooling down 25% faster. This would be a danger in a overexertion type of situation. Not so much by a fire because you can control your temperature. But out in the wilderness, if you haven't, done... if you've been out doing stuff and you don't have a fire to, kind of rebase control you, and you overexert yourself, you'll start to produce sweat. It will take a while. There's some still tweaks left to be done with sweat, actually. It needs to probably come down a little bit, so it kicks in a little bit earlier. So first thing we've done is if we walk a little bit closer, we're going to start to see, I might have to get a little closer than that. I can't really see the fire. Okay, so you'll start to see the snow should melt. It would be more easier if I turn around and look at the fire. Okay, so the snow is melting off of us from standing near the fire. I will slow that down as well too. And then if we walk away, we'll start to generate our snow back on us. And it's already starting to happen. Again, something else that will be a little bit slower right now. It's pretty quick, but that's just because I'm getting the systems working and making sure that everything does well. Essentially, I do a system, and then depending on, if I'm really wanting to continue on or if I'm trying to move on to something else. Moving on to something else will help me avoid any kind of burnout. I listen to myself. If I don't want to do something, if I am completely against it, my brain's like, I don't want to do this right now, I don't force it. I move on. That is the best way from a person who has burned out on things they love doing. Trust me on that one. But anyways, I will kind of do a system, start a system, and then, I'm pretty sure this is pretty standard procedure, is kind of go back over it and do waves of polish and upgrades. And so that's kind of where this is for the temperature system. We really started to work on the fire and integrating it, as you can see. So we have that on the material. Also, I've now made it to where the fire has a ring. If you look up in the top left corner again at our temperature, our fire has a ring that allows us to freeze the temperature. So if we say move closer to the fire, it's going to start going up relatively quickly because it's hot, and then we come back into that area, it holds that temperature. These areas are going to be essentially for you building your bushcraft structures, being able to put a bed somewhere in this vicinity, and with your sleeping bag, and as long as you keep the fire going, you can hang out here and live your whole life here, and stay nice and warm. Again, you'd have to be consistent with the fire and keeping it going. The actual recipe of breaking down and building a fire is not done. This is strictly just the logic of the fire, getting it to function properly. And then if we come back out of that inner ring, we go back to normal temperature where our temperature is starting to rise because we're walking. And if we stop, it will go down from not walking. And then, another aspect is a nice little ambiance here, showing a little bit. And this is a demo slice map. So my goal here is to essentially make a game with everything that I'm making in a much smaller version versus the 4,000 square mile map. That's something that needs to be handled as its own whole thing, and I have lots to do before I need to really worry about that. So I've made this little simple world. Got a nice frozen lake out here making all kinds of racket. We got some aurora happening up in the sky. But yeah, this is a nice little spot here. Got plenty of building supplies right here. We could easily start to build a bushcraft structure, and that's pretty much it. These rocks are fun to walk on. The IK kind of is like, but that's kind of, to me, that's it. That's what it'd be like. If you walked across rocks, it would also suck. The biggest other focus really here is the animations, right? The goal here is for the character to be able to communicate to you naturally in a way that you feel involves you with how they're feeling. Because you see the UI on the left side. These will probably be toggleable things, but I'm not trying to have any of that. I'm going to tie food, water, and health all to your animations, just like temperature is. I need to make a cold volume so I can show y'all the colder temperatures, but we can see the hot ones. So now we're pre-hot. We start to sweat, actually, which is about right. We also start to recollect our snow. This will inhibit you being able to do things for the most part. Your goal then will have to be, get warm. If we stop, we'll cool down quicker. Of course, since we're walking around, we're still going to warm up. And it's, again, this is the game. Well, at least a very big part of it. This isn't just the game, but a core structure that I want to feel realistic. Getting up to 97 essentially degrees, and that might be confusing because, so what I did is instead of having temperature, which temperature is on the Fahrenheit situation through ultra dynamic sky, but what I did was I used pretty much a 1 to 10 or 1 to 110 as my scale to be able to make iterating spaces of temperature more easily. So, right, if you go into hypothermia at like 94 point something degrees, something like that, I believe, and those margins and tiny numbers were going to be a lot harder for me to just refine the system. So instead, I just made it to where you have temperature gaps of what the exterior temperature is that makes you feel comfortable or hot or burning or cold or pre-hypothermic. You can actually already die from hypothermia in here, and it's kind of silly that I don't have a cold volume to show that, but I mean, like, it would take a long time for us to be able to see it on here. As you can see, the temperature's going down pretty slow, and this is the kind of thing that, like, I feel like that's probably a little too slow, but at the same time, that's kind of the point again. This temperature allows you to get close enough to cook, close enough to hold the temperature, and close enough to, overheat yourself. If you stand next to a fire for 10 seconds a foot away from it, you're going to be in rough shape in real life. You're not going to feel good for a while. And if you stand directly onto it, I don't have this one yet, where I do have, you can die from hypothermia. If you stand on the fire, you're going to get lit on fire. The component's on us, but the fire isn't advanced enough for me to start the propagation. So the fire will also be able to propagate. It will be able to catch other things on fire. I'm also going to do a wet and a dry system, and being able to dry out wet items near the fire. Fire is going to have, it's pretty much it's component based. It's actually one thing, and it's able to be put on anything. And you can, I mean, I could set this tree on fire, or this rock, or myself. So that's really what its main goal is of course heating things up, but this allows us to utilize it in other ways. So this is about the most base form fire where you're going to have this, but you're also going to have hot tents. You're going to have the tractor Bertha with a hot stove, or a hot stove, a wood burning stove in it, and then also your cabin and any other possible structures that may come in the future. You'll need to be able to interact with them, and so the best way for me to do that is really make it to where something that can catch on fire as a component, it's an individual thing. So then I can make you, activate your arm and actually build a fire, and utilize that to put wood into the stove and light it and all that good stuff, So, but ultimately, that's it. I wanted to show off that. We also have the way too hot, which is, get closer. There it is. Oh, been too close to the fire. Too close. And this would be, a couple seconds of that, and your clothes would catch on fire. We're in weatherproof, windproof stuff. It would have probably just melted that. So there's that. But anyways, so yeah, pure wild. This is kind of what I'm going on. I'm doing temperature, and right now, I mean, like, I might adjust temperature some, but see, this is the realm where we also start getting into a pain um, or a health threshold, which will clearly get tied into this, you know. So right now we only have to deal with life and death in the capacity of the temperature system, which is absolute, you know, so I don't have to worry about killing your health or whatever the case may be, or dropping it and you having some kind of method to deal with something like that. Because, like, how are you going to deal with third-degree burns out here? You know, if you light yourself on fire, or if in this state, you know, I'm going to have to give you some medicine, some kind of balm. I don't know. That's pretty far down the road. But yeah, individual systems, I pick them apart and try to make them as awesome as I possibly can, and unique and a different kind of approach, and trying to make something fun and awesome and realistic and yeah. So wish me luck. Like and subscribe if you can. That's the most kind of support I can use right now. Any kind of comments or any kind of things that you'd like to see that maybe aren't coming in. I mean, like, there's so much. I got to the point now where I have to make a list to even try to rattle it off. But, you know, think of this environment, and currently we're just chilling right here, but in theory you would have a cabin, and that might just become a mode. You know, you can play and live in a cabin, or you can play and you know, start with much less, a purer form of the game, shall we say, and then also the animal split screen mode as well too. I'd like to have all of them separate. I don't want you to necessarily have to do one without the other. And ultimately, at its core, it's a, you know, survival simulation, as close as I can get it to one. Thank you guys for your time, and my guy is still sweating to death. His temperature is coming down. It's going to be a while, but he just pretty much would have, like, burnt his skin. And we can do a little stop here and hit play again, and go to that. We don't want to do a snow angel. I don't know why I always end up doing that. But if we come up to it, it's a lot more forgiving than that. You have control. This is a pretty good distance here that's going to hold you at that temperature, whatever you're at. We also have, you know, if you want to really feel it, oh yeah, you know, try to get your hands warm them up, rub them together a little bit, blow some steam into your hands so your gloves freeze. He definitely heard that. Watch him. He's going to look around and be like, what was that? No, he's just too busy with his hands. But you can stand here and be very nice and comfortable. And then if we, you know, take a step forward, we're in it. It's already going up. Now we're back out of it. But just like a real fire, there's some danger zones. That's hot, my guy. So, anyways, that was it. Thank you guys for, again, your time. And hope you liked the video. I'll see you later.